Just look at this bump. You can tell it's a crab even without digging it out. The bump it's lying on is also a crab's burrow. This is also a female crab with roe. These female crabs with roe are pretty plump. It doesn't look very big, but it's especially full of meat. This sea anemone has completely retracted inside. Just the top of it is sticking out now. Here on this beach, the tide has completely gone out. Once the sand hardens, it won't be able to hold me. This one is quite long. Let's see if I can pull it out. Hey, it came out completely. Wow, this thing is so long. Look. How much is this? This must be about a meter long. I didn't think it was this long. I didn't expect it to be so long. It's slowly shrinking. Did you see that? Its head keeps retracting. You can see it moving, right? It shrunk so short in just a moment. This head isn't good. This clam net is about to collapse. It's not far from the water. I can already see its nose. Let's put some salt on it. If I had come any later, this razor clam would have been swept away with the tide. Sometimes catching these razor clams depends on the timing. Coming too early at low tide won't work. Coming too late won't work either. I gave it so much salt, and it still won't come out. I thought it was about to come out earlier. Let me poke it a bit. This one is going to be hard to catch. Hey, it didn't run away. This one is silly. It didn't run away even after I gave it so much time. This head is all right. There's another good find here. Look. Such a big sea hare. This sea hare is very lucky. It met me. Otherwise, it would have been swept away by the tide. This must weigh more than half a kilogram. The ones that are bulging like this are mostly swimming crabs. This one is asleep. It's still groggy. It doesn't even know what's happening. This one is a bit small. I don't like to eat these small ones. Some of those swimming crabs, when they are bigger, I might eat them. These small ones aren't worth it. These ones are most likely to grow this Gracilaria seaweed on their bodies. Just this much. It's enough for one meal. The tide here sometimes doesn't go out completely. It only recedes during spring tides. That's why the Gracilaria seaweed grows so well. There are no white parts. Sometimes the areas where the tide goes out every day are all white. They cannot be eaten. This one also has meat in it. This head is really big. Twice as big as my hand. Exactly the size of 2 palms. From a distance, I thought it was a shell. I was thinking an octopus might live inside. When I got closer, I saw that it contains meat. This meat seems to be frozen together. It's the first time I picked up such a big sea squirt. In the past, when it was very windy, I could pick up small ones at the seaside. It's really the first time I've seen one this big. It almost doesn't fit in the camera lens. This one must weigh several kilograms. This yellow clam is very big. It's still opening its mouth. Look at this meat. It's burrowing into the sand. It hasn't completely burrowed in. This big yellow clam needs to be taken. I basically don't want to catch these small ones. These big ones are more plump. This sand is probably too hard. After the tide recedes, it doesn't have much strength. Look, its tongue is constantly on the side here. Look, its tongue is constantly pulling into the sand. This sand is quite hard. This is just after the tide went out. The tide is right here. This is truly perfect timing. This hole is not small either. This razor clam is still on the side. I can even see its breathing hole. Hey, it went in. I give it salt, but it still retracts. This one came up. I gave it so much salt, and it still refuses to come up. How can it still retract? Ah, this one is quite big. Let's pull it out. It's stuck in this place. Look, its meat is constantly going inside. This is not small. Look at my hand. It's almost the same size as my hand, not counting its nose. A head like this is considered big. Now that it's cold, its tongue is still not very active. If it was warm, its tongue would be constantly going inside, shrinking. This side will soon collapse. Look at this clam. I saw it when I was on the opposite side. It's so lucky. If it was a little later, it would have gone out to sea with the tide. In places like this with flowing water, sometimes you can pick up big sea hares like this. When the sand collapses, you can see it. No need to dig it out yourself. The sea is below here. This shape is a crab. This head should be quite big. This is a swimming crab. This kind of female crab with roe. This type is so plump. The round ones are swimming crabs, and not a flower crab. Very few people eat these flower crabs. I'll put it here. I can take this one. In the cold weather, these female crabs with roe are especially plump. This flower crab is quite big. Those are for the white ducks. This sea hare also has meat. The meat is all frozen together. Its mouth can't even close. Look. The meat is all showing outside. This is definitely alive. The color alone confirms that it's alive. It's just that it's cold. Look at this. Its mouth can't close either. But it doesn't stop me from eating it. This is truly a big bunch. It grew on this brick. This one bunch is enough for a plate. There are a lot now. This Gracelaria seaweed does not recede with the tide. Let's just find some in this water. There's an octopus here. Can you see the golden sand in front? They are all different colors. They are all what it has spit out. This octopus is burrowing into the sand here, hiding under this seaweed. This water is so cold. I feel that this octopus is frozen. This cat's eye snail always shows half of itself when burrowing. If it didn't show this half, it wouldn't be easy to spot. It showed this half, and I saw it immediately. This head is not big. It's quite watery. These small cat's eye snails drink a lot of water. This way there won't be much sand inside. After the tide recedes, all the seafood crawls towards the water. Look, all these tracks are from it. It's moving too slowly. This head isn't big. I'll help it. This one move is enough for it to take several tidal changes to move itself. It can't cross this in 3 days. There are flowers in these breathing holes. This should also be a razor clam. You see its nostril, right? It seems I peeled off a section earlier. Sometimes you can't dig too hard when digging for razor clams. It must have retracted. I gave it so much salt. It still didn't come up. Let's dig it out. It's coming this way. Hey, this one is making noise to come out. It looks like this one can come up. I have to dig open the back a little bit. I'm afraid it will run away. It's quite deep, this one. I see it. Let's open it up. Now that I've dug through, it can't run away. Even if you let it run, it can't run away. Then this. It came right out. If it were to run, it would fall directly into that hole. This nose has lost a section. Only 5 segments left. Razor clams generally have 6 segments. Look how plump this meat is. This head is all right. The wind was pretty strong yesterday. All this kelp was brought up by that wind. This one is big. I feel this one is even longer than me. This is a complete one. This kelp has not been dried yet. Just this kind of color. If you cook it at home, it will turn that green color. The tide here has not completely receded yet. I feel that those black things in the water are all. I'm staying at this place waiting for the tide to completely recede. I feel like I can pick up a bucket of kelp today. This seafood is moving too fast. These 3 legs at the back are moving more slowly. They are all deformed. It should have moved from this place. This place is where it was lying before. After the tide receded, it was planning to walk towards the sea. I discovered this starfish. As it walks, it turns into a character. It has walked into a fire shape. Many seafood have this shape. Cat's eye snail. This bulge being like this is particularly standard. Let's squeeze it directly. This one is about to shrink. After such a big bulge, there's no water. The moisture is all used up. Just this kind of moya luo. When you get home, just rinse it a bit and you can eat it. Otherwise there will be sand inside. Look, the back here is sticky. It should have been lying for a long time. The Shinwan fish is swimming too fast here. I can't even step on it with my foot. It disappeared again in this instant. It's here now. Let's just directly smack it with the shovel. I think I hit it. It seems the fish's mouth is broken. This guy is too slippery. This fish is especially plump now. Look at this meat on its body. I almost let it run away. These stranded ones have no energy. It gets tired after swimming for a while. There should be crabs inside these. This is a swimming crab. There's also a female crab with roe here. This kind of triangle shape. Actually, this kind is quite plump, but this one is too small. Let's put it back in the water. This fish won't live for long after it's out of the water. I was still thinking of putting it back. Just this one. I can't eat it either. Let's find a seagull to feed it to. There are many seagulls here. Give it a fish. It pecked it away. Did you see that? It fell back into the water again. Give it to it. I can't eat this fish either. There isn't any water here. Let's just squeeze it open. This cat's eye snail that just got out of the tide is still quite watery. After it burrows into the sand, you won't be able to see it in this place. Recently, there's a lot of kelp by the sea. An old man in front just passed by this kelp. He didn't even want it. He took one look and walked right past. The roots of this kelp are still there. Actually, these roots are quite delicious. Much more delicious than this part. Is this old man a bit cocky? Such a big kelp can make a dish. I really like eating kelp. I have to take it. These stranded octopuses can't hold onto the sand. Look, these tracks here are all where it crawled out. This head is big, almost the same size as my hand. This one also changes color. This one doesn't have much energy anymore. This one has been out for a while. It can't hold on anymore. Such a big octopus. Even the seagull can't do anything. It can't pick it up. And it doesn't dare to eat it in this place. Hey, quietly, did you see it? Let's put some salt on it. I remember. The hole seems to be blocked up. This kind of razor clam is the hardest to catch. Look, the hole is all blocked up with sand. I don't even know where it ran off to. Let's just poke it directly with the hook here. It came up. This method is still the most effective. Use salt. It still has to wait for it to slowly. When it feels it, it will come up. This fish in the flowing water, it's like it's alive. The fins are all spread out. When this red lady fish is alive, its fins are always spread out like this. Especially beautiful. Its fins are almost like a butterfly's wings. Almost. Looks like it, right? This color is still very fresh. Look at its eyes. They are all open. They still have some spirit. This kind of fish shouldn't have been out for too long. This one is also not small. It's as big as my hand. I'll knock down this oyster. This sea squirt also has meat. These oysters can be eaten. Look at this head. These oysters are not small. This one should have been out for quite a while. You can't even see the meat anymore. It's all shrunk inside. This one was picked up by a fishing boat. I'll find a hard place to open it up, to see if the meat is still okay. This oyster is definitely alive. Earlier, its mouth was still opening quite wide. Goodness, this one is so big. I really didn't dare to think this would happen. 3 of these can't even compare to one of it. This one has to be over half a kilogram. This size. These big ones are okay to stir fry. If you boil it like this, it won't be delicious. It'll be too tough. These 4 can make a dish. This Moya Luo didn't hold onto any sand at all. It's still alive. Did you see this meat moving? These kinds are all blown out by the waves. By the flower waves. There's still water inside. Amazing. If the sun has dried it out, it won't have the strength to hold sand. It's quite warm these past 2 days. There's actually no octopus living in this shell. This kind of snail is originally for putting octopuses in. There's a rope tied to it. This one is broken and floated up to this beach. Let's put it here. Maybe after the tide rises, an octopus will come and live here. Octopuses like to live in these kinds of shells.